Well,
Well,
hello
hello
there.
there.
Welcome
Welcome
to
to
Mentored. I'm excited that you're here again. It's a lovely Friday evening. West African time is just 7 or 14 minutes past the hour of 7. And so good to come your way again. It's a cold, rainy evening over here in the city of Maiduguri. And I mean, we thank God for the rain. We don't get to see this weather often. And so it's something to be grateful for. All right, it means we're going to have a conducive weather tonight for those who want to sleep and even those who want to walk. It's still a wonderful weather for you to walk. And I do believe that at least the weather for the next 2 days will be calm as well. But you can let me know how the weather situation is around your environment, your host country, or perhaps your state or county. Once again, good evening and welcome to Mentored, that show that promises you growth, personal development, transformation, information, illumination, all in one package so that you can be at the cutting edge of your sphere. And I want to welcome you once again. I believe that today's show is going to be extraordinary. I believe that it's going to be life transforming. I believe that it's going to be informative. I believe that we are going to discuss very practical principles as touching the subject of our conversation tonight. So, why don't you do me and yourself a favor? Do well to hit the like button right now. Like this video now and begin to share with everyone that is connected to you. You need to make somebody know that Mentored is live, and you need to tell someone so that they can tune in and be a part of something really, really great. Like they say, the taste is in the pudding. So talk to your friends, family members, send them messages, send them WhatsApp messages, send a DM to them. Just put it on your status, call someone, gather everybody in your house, and make them understand that we are live right now and they cannot afford to miss this show right now. I'd like you to do that, and in just 1 minute, we are going to be back. Okay, we'll take a quick break. Make sure you don't touch that dial. I'd like you to publicize this show right now, share with everybody, make sure you're ready, because today is going to be great. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Well, hello there once again. Welcome back. This is Mentored. All right. I'm so excited that you're live with us right now, and I can't wait for us to get into the show, head for the jugular, and really unpack what is before us today. As usual, today's broadcast promises to be informative, educative, transformative, and it's also going to be hilarious as well, because we are going to talk about very practical situations, real life issues connected to the very subject of discussion. And that's why I really plead with my viewers, every one of you right now, to ensure that we are interactive about the broadcast today. If you are done liking this video, please remember to like this video and sharing with everyone on your contact space. If you have done that, I'd like you to move over to the live chat session, and let's start with you letting me know where you are following from, your city, your country, and let's know so we can have a range of the geographical locations of all our viewers, okay? And then feel free to engage with me on the live chat session as we continue on the discussion of tonight. Once again, you are welcome to Mentored. Okay, so if we're done liking, sharing, and also remember to subscribe if this is your first time watching this show on YouTube, and I want to welcome all our first time viewers. Make sure you subscribe, click on the subscribe icon, and then turn on the notification bell so you can get all other content on this platform. If you're watching by Facebook, please be a part of our social community. Make sure you follow the page that you are watching from, and then get to interact with us and be part of all our conversations on a daily. Now, that being said, I'd like us to start, as we always do, by prayer. I know that a lot of us are part of a faith community, and so we'll begin by prayer, and after that we'll get the show rolling. Once again, welcome to Mentor. So we'll say a word of prayer right now. Father, thank you for everyone watching from around the world, from every continent, especially in Africa. And I ask today for deeper understanding, for wisdom, as we practically engage on the subject matter. Help us to arrive at a conclusion. Help us to come into greater illumination as we discuss, and help us to find ways to practice the things that we learn so that our growth can be constructive and progressive. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. So thank you for being a part of Mentored. We'll go straight ahead to the discussion. Now, we've been talking about conflict resolution, and this has been like a series. We want to see how far we can go. This is the third week talking about conflict resolution. The first week we dealt with the subject of misunderstanding. Last week we talked about the power of communication, and these are very, not just important discussions around the subject of conflict resolutions. These are also very these are, what's the word, primary or fundamental topics to engage when talking about conflict resolution. So today we are discussing something very interesting, and I'll try to be as practical as possible. And I also would want us to flyer. You saw the ad for this broadcast today. We're discussing third party roles. Remember, we're still on the conversation of conflict resolution. And one of the reasons why we are having discussions around conflict resolutions is really because on a daily, individuals communicate, collide and contend over various issues. And it becomes interesting to know that it's almost impossible to live this life without having a conflict with people, whether you planned for it or not. We have different views. We have opposing views. We have different personalities as human beings. We have different perspectives to life, and these are areas that makes conflict inevitable between two or more parties. However, if we have conflict situations, how do we resolve them? How can we resolve crisis in relationships? And how do we sustain the peace between individuals, communities, organizations, and how do we keep and how to bring about conflict resolution? And today we are talking again, like I said, on what we title third party roles. Third party roles. Now, when you talk about third party in conflict resolution, you are simply highlighting the need or the necessity of bringing in a neutral individual, a neutral organization, a neutral system to help resolve disagreements and to broker for peace between two or more parties. Sometimes it's difficult for you to resolve issues with people. Sometimes it is difficult for two or more persons to compromise and come into a mutual understanding over an issue. Sometimes people prefer holding on to their views, to their perspectives, as against trying to being optimistic, trying to see from the other person's perspective, and that's why bringing in a third party can do some good. And we're also, part of the discussion today is to straighten out the mindset that third parties in conflict resolutions are not healthy. We're going to look at that. Is it true that they are not healthy? Or is there a way by which to go about involving a third party that makes it healthy and safe? All of that is packed in our discussion today. But when we talk about third party, we're simply referring to a neutral person, an individual, or a cooperation that comes to amicably resolve the issues between two or more parties. So here's my first point. Involving a third party in conflict resolution is important and safe. I believe we can start with registering that point. Involving a third party in conflict resolution is important and safe. I know that this may be contrary to religious beliefs for some people. I know that this may be contrary to traditional or ethnocultural beliefs in some people. I know that some people don't have the emotional tank to accommodate the fact that a disagreement lingers so long into strained conflict that the only way to gain peace is to bring in a neutral party that can broker for peace. I know that a lot of people will not really want to involve, especially if it's a marital union, especially if it's between a couple. But one question that must come to mind is, if you truly love and respect the other individual, or if both parties or both organizations truly respect the mutual bond between them, what extent are you willing to go to to broker peace? What price are you willing to pay to secure the peace and coexistence between you and the other party? Sometimes I believe that there are thresholds to how much of our beliefs we should hold to when it comes to peaceful and mutual coexistence. And I think it's important that we establish with facts that involving a third party in resolving conflict is important and can be safe. You see, there are principles to these things, and as we discuss them in the broadcast today, we will see how safe it can become. If two nations are fighting or at war, third parties can either take sides or broker a peace deal arrangement. And let me say this with all due respect, and sad to use this as an example, but it's the truth. There is currently a situation in South Africa. They call it xenophobia for some people, some call it Afrophobia. But what we can see, the narrative that is clearly revealed on the media, is a hostility between black South Africans and other black Africans. At least we've not seen any demonstration against the whites. Now, if there is no third party involved, this is going to continue. And we know, for those of us who are history students and those of us who follow what happens on the internet, this is not the first situation we are having of the issue concerning xenophobia. It is just that it has become worse, where citizens have to be repatriated back to their homeland from a place that they have known as their home all their life, built businesses, got white-collar jobs, built professions, built careers, and even raised families, especially when those families are interracial or intertribal. Now, in this situation, the best way forward is for a reasonable, respectable third party to broker for peace. If you have a couple, a man and a woman who is married, and yes, I should say a man and a woman who is married, and they are at a loggerhead and they seem to not get along, they seem not to reach an understanding so they can peacefully coexist. If you don't bring a third party at some point who can help them look beyond their views, beyond their beliefs, beyond the things they hold on to see how they can be a positive compromise so that they can live in peace together, learn to tolerate each other, learn to understand one another, that union will soon tear apart. And so it's important we register this point. Nobody prays that a conflict should get to a point where you need a third party. But if bringing a third neutral party is important and can help to broker peace, then it is important and safe. Excuse me. All right, so point number one, we've established that it is important and safe. A second point I would like us to establish is this: involving a third party does not necessarily mean that the couple or parties in view are incompetent or incapable in resolving their issues. No, involving a third party is not a sign of incompetence or incapability in the side of the couple or in the side of the parties in dispute. No, it's just to serve as a neutral ground to achieve mutual understanding and agreement. Let me take that whole point again. Involving a third party does not necessarily mean that the couple or parties in view are incompetent or incapable in resolving their issues. It's just to serve as a neutral ground. It's just to serve as a neutral ground to achieve mutual understanding and agreement. It's just to serve as a mutual ground or neutral ground to achieve mutual understanding and agreement. You know, the moment you mention third party, especially in Africa where we are either very religious or where we really hold on to, you know, our traditional views. And don't get me wrong, tradition is good. But modernization has helped us to think better. Modernization has helped us to integrate our thinking and our ability to relate with people who are from different cultures, civilizations, or countries. And this integration is needed for peaceful coexistence. So, some traditions, some religions believe that the moment you are involved in a third party, it feels like it's already gone from bad to worse. There's nothing you can do. You know, why are we washing our dirty linens in public? Why are we letting the whole world know our secret? Again, if you truly love and respect the other party, to what extent are you willing to go to secure peace? Would you rather hide your quote and unquote dirty linens and keep suffering from mutual abuse? That's what I call it. Because the two of you or both parties will keep tearing each other apart. If there is no neutral ground to establish a memorandum of understanding, it doesn't mean you are incompetent or incapable, no, in resolving your issues. It just means that two of us, whether as individual entities or as corporate entities, it just means that we are not able to on our own find a ground of understanding. And so we bring somebody who is able to bring our views and opinions together and bring it in such a way that it fits side by side. Someone who can help us see that we are meant to complement each other, not to compete with each other. Okay? It is just a neutral ground to achieve mutual understanding and agreement. So these are very two important points that we need to hold on to as touching third party roles. Let me read a scripture for you. Let's read from the Holy Bible in Proverbs chapter 17 and verse 10. Or rather do verse 9. It says, "He who covers a transgression seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates friends." And you know, my Bible here gives me the opportunity to make notes. So I wrote there, the secret to conflict resolution. Maybe I could read it in the Message translation of the Bible. It says, "Overlook an offense and bond a friendship, fasting unto a slight and goodbye friend." Another translation, the New Living Translation, says, "Disregarding another person's faults preserves love, Telling about them separates close friends. Okay? So, someone has to be willing to seek agreement, seek understanding, seek coexistence. And that's the role of a third party. Now, in conflict resolution, third party involvement varies from individual to corporate organizations or even religious institutions, and also legal institutions. These are the various institutions or entities that are involved as third parties in conflict resolution, either from individuals to corporate organizations to religious institutions to legal institutions as well. In fact, at a higher scale, it can be a League of Nations. You know, we have what we call United Nations, okay, a league of several nations globally. There is also the Commonwealth of Nations. There is the European Union. There is the African Union. So there are other national leagues like the G7 and so on and so forth. These are the various degrees of assembling a third party entity. For legal institutions, of course, we have the court, and that's where disputes are settled according to the laws of the land. But for individuals as third parties, you will have them function in the various ways. You can either have parents or relatives. I'm talking about individual third parties now in conflict resolutions. You can have them as parents or relatives. By relatives, of course, we mean siblings, uncles, aunties, and close relatives. You can have them as legal counsels. You can have them as religious clerics, whether an imam or a pastor or a priest. You can also have them as trained counselors. Trained counselors. These are individuals that can be involved in conflict resolutions. Parents or relatives, legal counsels, religious clerics, trained counselors, and so on and so forth. These are the kinds of people that can stand as third parties in conflict resolution. Once again, welcome to every one of us who may be watching right now. I'd like you to know that you are watching Mentored, the show that promises you growth and personal development, transformation, so you can be at the cutting edge. And we are discussing conflict resolution. More directly, we are talking about third party roles. And I know that for many of us who are watching right now, at some point you've had to play the role of a third party in resolving a conflict. Perhaps you can do well to give me an example at the comment section. Let me know what time in your life you had to play a third party role, or even now if you are doing some of that for maybe two people who are in dispute, or maybe two organizations and you are there to broker peace. Do you even know that sometimes when terrorists hijack a place and they hold people hostage, they bring in negotiators? Those are the third parties. They come in the line of fire, standing between the terrorists, the hostages, and the government. So you see, one way or the other, you will definitely find yourself as a third party personality. But you can let me know at the comment section if you have been a third party before now, and what role did you play, and how far did it go before you were able to secure peace I'll go on a break now, and we'll be back shortly. Once again, it is Mentored. Oh, this is the concluding part of the Once again, welcome back. This is Mentored, and we've been discussing on third-party roles in conflict resolution. Now, we established before we went on the break that involving third parties in conflict resolution is important, healthy, and safe. We also established that it is not a show of incompetence or incapability in the disputing parties not being able to solve their problems. No, it's just seeking a neutral ground for mutual agreement, peaceful coexistence, and understanding. We also talked about the fact that those who could be involved as third parties can range from individual entities to corporate organizations, religious institutions, legal institutions, and even at a national level. The individuals can vary from parents to relatives, religious clerics, trained counselors, legal counsels, and all of that. Now, when involving a third party, these are some of the things you should take note of when involving a third party in conflict resolution. Number one, both parties should agree on the option and choice of a third party. Both parties should agree on the option and choice of a third party. That means that if two people or two organizations or two communities are in a dispute, they both need to agree to get a third party to resolve this issue. At the same time, they must agree on the choice of the individual. That means that both will ensure that they get one who has mutual respect from the two, and someone or some organization or entity that is believed not to be biased. That's why in football, for instance, I'm using soccer because it's the most popular sport in the world. The World Cup just ended right now. if you have two nations playing a match, you cannot have the referee of that match coming from any of the nations playing. They have to bring somebody from a different nation, a neutral ground, sometimes someone even from another continent entirely, to ref that match so that both parties can be sure of a fair play. So both parties should agree on the option and choice of a third party. The option of having a third party must be agreed by the both of them, and the choice of the third party. Number 2, both parties must be willing to resolve the conflict. I've seen people in dispute, communities in dispute, a third party comes to intervene and it doesn't go anywhere. And most times it's because both parties are not willing to resolve. They're not willing to broker for peace. Why do we still have the war between Russia and Ukraine? Why do we still have the war between America and Iran? See that? Bring that down to community dispute, bring that down to individual dispute, bring down to the clashes we have, even in West Africa now, between groups, farmers and herders, intertribal clash and all of that. Both parties must be willing to resolve the conflict. They must be willing to seek for peace. It means that they must care about the relationship. If that relationship is still meaningful, if that relationship is still resourceful to both, they should be able to lay aside their difference and submit themselves to resolving that conflict. They must also count the cost. If we don't resolve this conflict and our relationship is severed, what do we stand to lose? The both of us. I'm still on the second point. Both parties must be willing to resolve the conflict. They must count the cost. If we go our separate ways, do we stand to lose more than if we decide to resolve this conflict? Most of the relationship disengagement that you find, most times is because the parties don't really count the cost. They don't know what they get to lose when things fall apart. So both parties must be willing to resolve the conflict. Point number 3, both parties must be ready to be accountable. Both parties must be ready to be accountable. Must be ready to be accountable and subject to constructive scrutiny. Both parties must be ready to be accountable and subject to constructive scrutiny, which is the job of the third party now. That's having somebody who will tell both of you that you were wrong, and who also agree where the both of you are right, who will be ready to scrutinize the entire conflict, know where what went wrong, and then must be accountable, must be willing to say the truth. Point number 4, both parties must mutually respect the third party contracted. Both parties must mutually respect the third party contracted. Must mutually respect the third party contracted. That's true. If you don't have mutual respect, or one doesn't have respect for the third party, then there's no need to contract that person. And finally, point number 5, both parties must respect the mutual agreement reached. You must respect the mutual agreement reached. That was part of the problem we have. For those of you who are students of history, that's part of the problem we had in the Nigerian Civil War. That war wouldn't have continued if what was called the Aburi Accord was respected. Unfortunately, it wasn't. And millions of people were killed. So both parties must respect the mutual agreement reached. Now, this has to do with the disputing parties. As for the third party that will be involved, what are their roles? I run down a list of 8 important points that are the roles of a third party. So if you find yourself brokering peace between 2 individuals, between 2 organizations, between 2 communities as a third party, please take note of the following. Number 1, get involved at the willingness of both parties. Ensure that the both of them will that you are involved as a conflict resolutor. Get involved at the willingness of both parties. Of course, you can't force people beyond their will. So get the permission of their will to be involved. Number 2, avoid being biased. Avoid being biased. Stand with absolute neutrality. Number 3, aspire to listen to both sides accurately. Aspire to listen to both sides accurately. You must be a listener if you want to be a third party in conflict resolution. There will be moments in the conversation where you have to be quiet and listen. If you don't listen carefully, you will not be able to observe the conflict of views, the disparity of opinions, or changed statements that may show that one party told the truth and the other party fabricated what was said. So, you must aspire to listen to both sides accurately. We talked about that last week when we were talking about the power of communication. Saying things like, if I got you correctly, you said this. I think we talked about that. Was it the dynamics of communication or so? So aspire to listen to both sides accurately. Number 4, do not judge, resolve. Do not judge, resolve. Your role is to resolve the conflict, not to play the role of a judge. Meanwhile, the disputing parties will want you to be a judge. You know, people have this, and I don't blame them, but almost everybody has this innate desire in them to get justice when they feel cheated. So they want a judge, somebody to say you are wrong and you are right. Well, that's the role of legal institutions, or as we can say, that's the power given to legal institutions by the government of a people. But when you are called upon as a neutral party, that's why even when you go to court, sometimes they will advise that you do an out-of-court settlement. Don't play the role of a judge. Just resolve. Hear from each side. Help them see where both of them are missing each other. And then prepare a ground for mutual understanding and agreement. You remember the story of Moses in the Bible, when he killed the Egyptian who was abusing the Israeli. The next time he saw that Israeli who was abused at a conflict with another one. And what did he say to him when he wanted to? He said, who made you a judge over us? You are not meant to be a judge. You are there to resolve issues. Number 5, walk with facts over sentiment. Walk with facts over sentiment. Walk with facts over sentiment. Now, this is influenced by point number 2 when we said avoid being biased. This point number 5, walk with facts over sentiment. Don't try to perceive that this one is wrong. No. Help. In fact, you are, as the third party, you are the neutral ground. Most conflict you find amongst individuals now, most times is based on sentiment. One person already has a perceived view, and this perceived view of the other individual are based on sometimes wrong informations, incorrect or inadequate informations. So if you don't want to be biased, work with facts, things that are documented. Don't try to pull up something from that doesn't exist. Okay. Number 6, watch your boundaries as a third party role. Only get into aspects of their lives or get into aspects of the company that you are allowed into. Okay. There are areas, there are gray areas in conflict resolution that you shouldn't tread into if you are not permitted. So watch your boundaries. Make sure you are permitted. Make sure it's with the agreement of both parties to step into certain areas. For instance, if you are a marriage counselor, excuse me, if you're a marriage counselor and the point comes where you have to isolate the couple, talk to one person as above the other, as you dig in, you will discover that the one problem they are bringing before you is a nexus to several other issues that has gone beyond what happened between the two of them to what is happening in their individual lives. That's where you begin to deal with personal issues. Make sure you get into them by the permission of the individual, because sometimes it's easy to get the disputing party offended. All right. Every time I have the opportunity to play the role of a third party in people's, I always tell them, if you don't want us to talk about it, we will not talk about it. We can return back and face the issue at hand. And that's because sometimes some of these private issues are wounds that are not yet healed, and it is an assault to try to touch somebody's wound without their permission. So watch your boundaries. Number 7, be a peace broker. Be a peace broker. Be a peace broker. Be a peace broker. Let me read something from the New Testament of the Holy Bible. This is the book of Matthew chapter 5 and verse 9. You are blessed when you can show people how to cooperate instead of compete or fight. That's when you discover who you really are and your place in God's family. That's Matthew chapter 5 and verse 9, which many of us know. I just read the Message Bible translation. But a contemporary translation, like the New King James, says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." Okay? So be a peace broker. Look to establish peace. No matter how hot the argument goes, look to establish peace at the end of the day. And know that it is possible to seek peace. It may not be easy, but it is definitely possible. And finally, come to terms with conflict resolution realities. Come to terms with conflict resolution realities. What are one of the conflict resolution realities that you must come to terms with? Not all peace deals end in peace. Not all peace deals. There will be conflict you will not be able to resolve. So don't feel guilty or feel bad. You didn't start it in the first place. And if you are not able to resolve it, at least don't prolong it or don't make it worse. Those are what I call conflict resolution realities. Not all peace deals end in peace. Sometimes it may work out fine. They get to settle mutual understanding and we're all happy. It's a win-win for everybody. At other times, things fall apart. Everybody goes their separate ways. These are realities you must come to terms. And that's because of the dynamic nature of humans. It's difficult to really get human beings to work together. A human is an intelligent, high classified being that have their own opinions, their own perspective. It's very difficult to influence the mind of a human being. Influence is a powerful gift if you are able to wield it against or above humans. So sometimes it may work, sometimes it may not work. But understand that these are not esoteric issues. These are normal as far as the issue of conflict resolution is concerned. Some other times it will start chaotically and end in peace. Some other times it will be so chaotic you will not think it can. Some other times it will even fall apart, and it's much more later that you are able to resolve the conflict. So come to terms with conflict resolution realities. These 8 points will help you as a third party, whether you are a corporate organization seeking to heal a breach or to bridge a gap between two organizations, or whether you are coming in to community dispute, or whether you are brokering peace deals between individuals, between families, between marriages, between tribes, cultural groups, or even between nations. These are clearly proven principles over time, very practical and very simple, that will help you play safely the role of a third party. I do believe that involving a third party, if and when necessary, in a conflict resolution is important, is healthy, and is safe, if we play by the rules and work by the right principles. So thank you so much for a wonderful time we've had discussing about third party role. Let's know if we have questions. We'll take about one or two and then get to call it an evening. But sincerely, I'm grateful for your time, your attention, and as we engage on this discussion again and again. So let's see if we have questions, and then you can also drop your thoughts on certain aspects of the discussion that you really found educative or that you resonate with. Maybe there's been an issue, a practical scenario that commensurates with this particular point that was talked about. So I believe third party role, if and when practiced appropriately, is important and safe. And it's a way of restoring peace and repairing a damaged relationship. I believe in peaceful coexistence. I believe in mutual understanding. I believe in mutual respect, agreements, and development. And we need that to build and foster a society of integration, of development, of growth, and of excellence. So this is why I believe in the role of a third party. Any question? None? Okay. Okay. Well, we'll continue. Have a question now? Okay. We'll continue next week on conflict resolution, but this is what I want you to do for me. Drop at the comment section, or maybe write me an email. Tell me how this broadcast has really, really blessed you, whether you are watching live or whether you are watching the rebroadcast again. Tell me, especially highlight some points to me that you really found amazing, or that resonates with a practical experience that you've had. And also let me know what other aspect of conflict resolution you want us to discuss, maybe next week or the week after that. We'll take as much as we can on this subject before going into other subjects that are concerned with our growth and transformation. Thank you so much for being a part of Mentored. It's always a lovely, lovely Friday evening to come our way again by West African time. And I believe that this show has really been educative, informative, and life transforming. I look forward to hearing your thoughts either on the live chat session, or you send me an email as it is displayed on the comment section. Thank you so much for giving me your Friday evening. Thank you for being mentored. I'll see you next week again. Do have a lovely evening, and thank God for the month of July that in a few hours will come to an end. So from me and my team in the studio, it's saying happy new month. Welcome to the first or the 8th month of the year 2026. Do have an amazing weekend and a fruitful month ahead. God bless you, and bye-bye.